Hello and welcome to the Sana Psychological Podcast, your safe space for connection, healing, and growth. Each episode, our experienced clinicians and special guests will share strategies, stories, and resources to support your unique path to well-being. Because at Sana, your mental health matters. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Sana Psychological Podcast. I'm Paige Abbott, and I'm really excited to take you into today's topic where we're going to discuss being sober during the summer. And specifically, we're going to talk about sobriety from alcohol. This has been a main area of focus for my practice for over 15 years, and it's a topic I love discussing with people and have so much to share with you today. So I'm excited to take you into some information, some general stories and examples of sobriety in the summer. I know that the thought of starting sobriety or continuing to be sober throughout the summer can be particularly challenging for people because there's this association, and you may have lots of lived memories and lived experiences of summer events being associated with drinking and potentially other substance use as well. I know that this is a really powerful thing within our minds. And so the thought of doing something differently, even if you're really motivated for your recovery and sobriety, can feel really challenging. Today, we're going to dive into some of the common challenges that come up as people consider or continue being sober during the summer, some of the unexpected and best benefits that can come from a sobriety journey at all times, including in the summer, and some stories that might resonate, whether you're sober curious, fully committed, or rethinking your relationship with drinking. So there's no way around it. Summer definitely amplifies the pressure to drink. There's just so many different types of events, and alcohol is often treated like part of the experience, not just an optional part of the experience. When you're sober, that can make you feel like you're opting out of something bigger than just a drink. You may feel like you're missing out on the fun, the experience, the connection, the community. You may also feel quite uncomfortable being one of the few, or maybe even the only person who's not consuming alcohol while everyone else around you is. So there's these social scripts, these social expectations, as well as, of course, the internal pressure that comes if you are experiencing or have struggled with addiction. It just amplifies that noise internally because now that relationship with alcohol feels more sacred, more important, because it's driven so much of your experience, your thinking, your feeling before, that to consider doing something different feels really huge. And I do want to emphasize that for anyone who is changing their relationship with alcohol and with substances, it is huge. It's a really big step to take, and it's a big investment in your overall self, your health, your mental health, and your well-being. And for anyone who's considering that, is doing that, I welcome you, I encourage you, and I congratulate you because these changes are truly an investment in yourself. And that's why I love being an addiction therapist, to see the changes that can come in people's lives when it starts with seemingly changing their relationship with one thing, being alcohol or another substance or behavior. It's always amazing how that can shift into really everything changes. So we start to see the behavioral change shift into the mental, the emotional, the relational, the life change. But how do we get there? And how do we navigate through what can be a really difficult season? Well, to be honest, for people who are newer in their sobriety journey, they probably are going to experience the most challenge with this because you don't have as much lived experience and therefore evidence yet of the benefits of sobriety. So those challenges can feel a lot more in your face and a lot more obvious. Some of the bigger challenges that can come up with summer sobriety include FOMO, that fear of missing out. You might worry that sober equals boring, equals not fun. You may worry that if you're not drinking, you won't connect the same way, that you're worried you may lose friends and social connections. You won't be able to loosen up. You won't be able to have and enjoy those spontaneous moments of connection. So there's just so much fear about the present, as well as what this might mean into the future. And again, if you're newer to sobriety or even considering changing your relationship with alcohol, I know that that can be a really big barrier for people. And one of the main things that I encourage people who are at that spot to consider is that maybe this is a temporary feeling and experience. Maybe, like with most things that we fear, as you go through it, maybe your lived experience will show you something different. Maybe you'll find that it's not as bad as you thought. It's not as uncomfortable. Maybe you can have still a lot of fun being sober. Maybe your relationships won't shift as much as you did. Maybe if your relationships do shift, maybe you'll be okay with that because you've shifted too. That when we really kind of lean into our fear and face it by going through it, usually what's on the other end is far more remarkable and rewarding than we could have ever thought. So I understand the FOMO, but perhaps consider that FOMO might actually shift into JOMO, the joy of missing out. There may be things that you feel you can't live without and be happy with today, that maybe in the future you'll notice, hey, I lived without that, and I'm actually happier and better off without it. Some other challenges that can come up in early sobriety and also sobriety during the summer, that there can be that energy mismatch. So being sober in a group where other people are drinking, let's face it, can feel a little bit weird. For some people, it's uncomfortable. For others, it's just plain not enjoyable. And for other people, it's okay. Kind of depends on the crowd, it depends on the type of event, and it also depends how much the other people around you are drinking. If you're sober and everyone is really intoxicated, obviously the difference between those two states is going to be really obvious. This is something that you can handle with your boundaries, that you don't have to stay while people are getting really, really intoxicated. It's okay to leave early. Chances are they're probably not going to remember a lot of what was happening at that later point in the event anyway. So why not go enjoy and participate in the parts that you can and that feel safe for you? And then leave. Go enjoy the rest of your day, night, have a good sleep, enjoy the parts that you can. Again, this reprogramming is all temporary. The things that feel the hardest and the most challenging for you today, I can promise they will shift, they will change, and they will get better. So anything as we started is always a lot harder than as we keep doing it. So a lot of these perceived challenges, if this is your first summer being sober, it is going to be the harder part of your experience because it's all new. These are your firsts. And as we go through the firsts of sobriety, those are always the most challenging because we don't have practice. We don't have lived experience and evidence yet of how this is going to go and how to navigate it. So we're experimenting, we're trying. But I think the experiment is worth doing. If you're here, obviously there's a curiosity or already lived experience with sobriety, and you're here because you know this has something to offer to me that I'd like to experience. And so I hope that whatever challenges come up for you along the way, whether it's the FOMO, that energy mismatch, fear in general, and also just relearning how to have fun and how to do things sober. All of these are new experiences for sure, but you're here because you want to see what's on the other side. And I do think, just from the thousands of stories I've heard and witnessed over the years of people making this change and being sober, the journey is worth it. It's always interesting to see what's on the other side, from engaging with alcohol to whatever extent you are to not, and see what that has to offer you. So, what are some of those hidden benefits that may not be talked about enough or as much as we would want them to be of sobriety? I think the part that surprises people that sober summers can actually be better in so many ways that you didn't expect. Mornings can feel great. They become your sacred time. No hangovers, no wasted days. You wake up clear headed, energized, and actually able to enjoy the best parts of the summer. The early light, the quiet mornings, being more spontaneous with plans, and actually being able to enjoy things because you don't feel crappy and hungover. You're not obsessing about when are we going to be able to stop and drink. You're able to fully participate in things, and that's amazing. It's like mindfulness given to you because of the absence of something that took it away from you. With sobriety in the summer and at all times, people will often notice their level of connection changes. I know there can be that fear of the loss of relationship. And I'm not going to lie, that can happen, especially if the person or the people that you're connecting with also have issues with alcohol themselves. Those relationships may disintegrate and fall apart. But with other people, you may actually notice that in sobriety, your conversations and your relationships enhance. They now have a greater depth to them. You remember everything, you're present, you're able to have real back and forth conversations where there's real empathy, there's curiosity, there's the ability to go deeper. And over time, those connections just continue to feel even more and more grounded and real. So if you're starting off this summer and this is all new to you, yeah, that might feel a little bit precarious. You don't yet have that lived information that relationships are going to deepen, but just be open to it. Be open to seeing where you're drawn relationally, the people that you feel comfortable with. Not surprisingly, they may also be people drinking less or not drinking much themselves, because that just allows us to connect in a more real, deep, and intimate way than when we're intoxicated. Even if that's just a drink or two, you will start to notice over time that that does change our ability to relate and connect, and usually moves us to a more superficial spot and takes us away from that real depth. Being sober in the summer can also create more emotional stability. Alcohol definitely amplifies our highs and our lows. So, without it, a lot of people find their moods become a lot more steady. So, they're no longer chasing the buzz or dealing with the crash afterwards, dealing with as much anxiety or feeling of low motivation or almost depression that can come with alcohol use. It just feels like steadier ground. And it's always interesting what comes out of that. A lot of times people feel more motivated, they feel more peaceful, they feel they have more energy, and then they can take that into different relationships, activities, and do different things for themselves. You will notice your confidence grows. It's hard to do hard things, but when we do them, it's very empowering. So, being able to go through an event, a week, the summer without alcohol, if that's your goal, can be such a big boost of confidence just to know that you can do this. That'll translate into other challenges. So, other holidays, other times of year, other moments that feel like you have doubt of whether you'll be able to do it or not. You'll start to build more confidence and evidence from your lived experience that you can do this because you've done it before. So, here's a great time to, whether it's going through some of those firsts or doing this for the second, third, fourth, 20th, 50th time, going through the summer with reduced alcohol consumption or sobriety really can help empower you to know that you can do different things and you can do hard things and things that you thought were maybe not even possible. To see that unfold in action is just truly remarkable. It also will help with your physical health. People who aren't drinking tend to report a number of noticeable health benefits, the main ones including better and more consistent sleep, better hydration, better immunity, so not feeling as sick or as run down, more energy. And certainly in the heat of the summer with other demands, temperature changes, all of that, it makes a noticeable difference. People are able to show up more consistently and actually feel well during a season where we do want to maximize our enjoyment and feel as good as we can. How is this all possible? Do you have your own sobriety story and journey? If so, I think it's important to reflect on that and think back to some of the things that you've done, the experiences that you've had while you've been sober, whether in summer or not, to empower yourself, to remind yourself that this does feel good and that this is a path that you want to pursue. I know for a lot of people, thinking about going out to that first social gathering on a patio can feel really uncomfortable. And people who are newer to sobriety, if they've only been sober for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, may actually not participate in some of these events for the first summer or two because it just doesn't feel safe or comfortable for them. They really want to be protective of their sobriety. And if going out on a patio or going to certain parties or certain events feels really triggering and vulnerable for you, it's okay not to participate. There's lots of other things that you can connect into in your life that will provide fun, enjoyment, and connection that feels safe. So I do want you to consider if the event that you're RSVPing to and going to, if it doesn't feel like you can go in with a plan that you feel safe and comfortable with, it's also okay to change your mind and say no. Don't participate in that if it doesn't feel like it'll be okay for you. If or when it does, it's interesting that when people go, there can be that hesitation at first. I find the more people have planned logistics like what are they going to consume instead of alcohol? Who are they going to be around and even go with? When are they going to go? When are they going to leave? What are they going to say if they're asked why they're not drinking? How are they going to handle any pressure to drink? When you go in prepared with some of these questions or all of these topics in mind, it can really help create that confidence. So now people can show up, they're clear on their boundaries, they're clear on how they're going to communicate about their boundaries. And at first, things might feel a little bit awkward, but as the night goes on, you have some sort of non alcoholic beverage in your hand, something shifts. So now you realize that you can still laugh, you can still engage, you can still have fun, you're still enjoying, and maybe even enjoying it more. There's this realization that I did it and I'm okay. Maybe I'm even better than okay. Maybe this feels quite good, and maybe I can do this. And some people, they engage in these events and realize, I actually don't really like these types of events anymore. Maybe I was only here because of the alcohol. And that's okay too. Whatever realization is coming up for you, it's information. And that information is important to pay attention to because it'll inform your future choices and your future decisions that you make. But I just want to remind you from so many people's stories and lived experience that being alcohol free certainly does not mean an elimination of fun, an elimination of connection, an elimination of social events and activities. It can mean quite the opposite. It can mean more true and genuine connection, more thoughtful engagement, and more true fun because you can be there, you can be present, you can soak it all in, and then you can leave and you still feel clear, you still feel healthy, and you can go away, you can rest, you can rejuvenate, you can hydrate, and life continues. Same thing the next day. You notice the difference when you wake up and you remember everything that happened. You feel good. You feel empowered because you didn't drink. And then you also just feel excited about the day ahead. And you know that you're not going to lose time recovering or feeling sluggish or feeling hungover. You know that you can just jump right into whatever it is that you had planned for the day. And that can feel great. So, is it possible to be sober during the summer? Of course, absolutely. There's millions of people who are sober and don't drink alcohol on the planet for various reasons. And they can do that all year long if that's their choice and that's their action. That can be you as well. It can come with some challenges. So it's important to do some reflection and maybe you discuss it with some support people or even a professional healthcare provider. You can talk about the anticipated challenges. And if you feel more comfortable, you can brainstorm how you might handle those challenges so that you feel more confident to take that next step of change and encounter those challenges with some support. But all of it is very doable. There's a lot of people, myself included, who are happily not drinking all year long, including during the summer. And it's great to find alternative beverages that are fun and different and seasonal, but that leave you still feeling okay. And also to just go through experiences with a sober mind and a clear head can feel really good. And it allows for that continuation of your self care and your wellness journey. So it's all very possible. And I would encourage you, if you are navigating a sober summer, just a few things that you may want to think about that can help. Have a go to drink or drink options. So, something that you enjoy holding, maybe something you can bring to an event if you're worried about the options that they'll have available. So, that can be a soda, a carbonated water, iced tea, a mocktail, whatever helps you feel like it's something refreshing, but also enjoyable or special that feels safe and comfortable for you is important. Don't just rely on your circumstances to take care of you or uphold your boundaries. If you're going into an event where it's very alcohol focused, you might not have a lot of options. And that can really feed that FOMO, the fear of missing out feeling, and can leave people feeling more vulnerable and triggered to relapse. So, having an alternative that you're aware of, that either you know the event will have or you bring yourself, can be really helpful. Plan your exits. So, when you're going to enter, when you're going to exit, and how you're going to exit. So, if you're relying on somebody else for a ride and they're drinking, or you've decided to be the designated sober driver, just be considerate that that may mean then you might be staying longer than what you had wanted to. And does that feel okay for you? Sometimes having your own individualized exit plan, even if you're going with a partner, can be helpful so that you don't have to stay until the end of the event or longer than you feel comfortable. Find your own people. So, one supportive friend, maybe someone who's not drinking or not drinking as much, whether that's someone you come with or someone that you connect with at the event, can be really helpful. And this can be outside of social events, just having a person or people that you can connect with throughout the season to just talk about life, your sobriety journey can be such an impactful tool because it can normalize, help us build connection, feel less alone, and maybe even get some tips or strategies from them if they're trying to do the same thing. Own your choice. You are able to make whatever decision you want about your actions. You don't owe anyone a detailed explanation. So, having an idea of what you might say if someone asks you about your preference to not drink, you may just want to have that at the ready so that you don't feel put on the spot. And ultimately, focus on what you'll gain, not what you're losing out on by making this change for yourself and being sober throughout the summer. It's important for us to motivate ourselves and reinforce change by looking at what we're gaining and want to see more of, rather than what we're trying to avoid or what we're missing out on. So, a sober summer certainly isn't about restriction. It's about clarity. It's about enjoyment. It's about intentionality. It's about experiencing everything more fully without numbing any parts of it. And yeah, it might feel different at first, but different doesn't mean worse. Sometimes it means more honest, more intentional, more you. I really enjoy talking about this topic, and I know in future podcasts we'll revisit the topic of sobriety and also expand it beyond just alcohol sobriety. But a lot of the tips and advice that we talked about today can be brought into other substances and other behaviors as well. Being thoughtful, being intentional, being clear about our goals, about the strategies that we can use to support ourselves, and also being realistic about the challenges as well as the benefits can help with sobriety and recovery of anything at any time. I wish you a very enjoyable season ahead. I hope that some of the discussion has been helpful in supporting you, and I honor your goal to change things and shift things for yourself. I always think personal growth and personal development is absolutely awesome. That's why we're here doing what we do. Take good care, and I'll talk to you next time. Thank you for listening to the Sana Psychological Podcast. We're glad you joined us today. For more resources, free tools, or to book a session with our team, visit sanapsychological.com. Your mental health is our priority. Until next time, be gentle with yourself and take good care.